If you dance with him again, don't expect me to stay quiet. The air in the room had changed the moment he stepped in. There was no warning, no signal. Only that feeling crawling along the spine, sharp and intrusive. Eyes darted across the room, searching for something, but there she was, laughing, swaying, dancing with him. The laughter that once belonged to soft pillow whispers and tangled sheets now spilled into another man's chest. That was the moment everything broke inside. The walls of patience, the carefully stacked bricks of trust, the long hours of building something real. It all collapsed. The smile she threw over her shoulder to him wasn't just flirtation. It was betrayal dressed in red lipstick. And while the world watched the dance, no one saw the war inside. The hunger to scream, to claw the truth into the open, burned like wildfire under skin too polite to explode. He had warned her, whispered it in heat, moaned it in need, growled it in anger. If you dance with him again, don't expect me to stay quiet. But she did it anyway. And so began the story of destruction, the kind born from love too deep and betrayal too sharp. That night something shifted, not just between legs or lips, but between hearts, souls, dignity. When the party ended, the lies began. Her eyes avoided his. Her hands fumbled with her phone. Her scent smelled like another man's cologne, masked in her favorite floral perfume. The room they once shared felt colder. She walked in like nothing had happened. But he saw it. The smirk when she thought he wasn't looking. The sweat that didn't match the cool weather. The missing bra, the smeared lipstick, the slightly swollen lips. She didn't know he had followed her. He had watched everything. The way she let herself be touched, how her body responded to him, how she gave away moans that used to belong to him. That night he didn't sleep. He lay beside her, stiff with rage, his hands curled into fists. Every breath she took felt like a blade across his chest. The next morning was quiet. Too quiet. He poured coffee. Smiled. Kissed his cheek. He almost laughed. And then came the messages. Vulgar texts she thought she had deleted. Pushed deep into the archive. Messages that spelled out positions, timings, raw confessions of everything she had done, in ways too graphic to be misunderstood. He read them one by one, each word a whip on his back, each emoji a dagger in his throat. He didn't confront her yet. Instead he changed, quietly, became colder, sharper, hungrier, but not for her love, for justice, for revenge. He studied her, observed every move. He stopped touching her. No more kisses. No more late-night confessions. Just cold glances and unspoken rage. He began working out more, looking better, staying out later, dressing sharper. She noticed, but it was too late. One night, she begged him to touch her. Her skin was hungry, her breath needy, her voice soft and pleading. She slid her hands down her own body in front of him, trying to provoke the man she used to break open in seconds. He watched stone-faced. But she kept trying. Hot words, dirty promises, even soft cries. And finally he snapped. He took her. Not with love but with fire. Painful, non-stop, merciless hours. No kisses. No sweetness. Only grunts and bruises. His hands on her neck, his teeth on her skin. His body reminding her of what she gave up. She moaned, screamed, cried, but he didn't stop. And when he was done, she was broken. Not just in body but in soul. She crawled to the bathroom. She looked at her reflection. Hair tangled, lips swollen, eyes red, thighs trembling. That wasn't the girl who danced last night. That was the woman who had awakened a storm. But she didn't apologize. Instead she smirked. And that smirk was the final match. The next morning, she found herself locked out. Her clothes thrown into the hallway. Her photos burned. Her contacts deleted. Her name erased from every piece of his life. But that was just the beginning. Because what he did next would crush not just her, but everyone she had touched. The days that followed were not silent. They were filled with subtle screams, of regret, humiliation, rage, and loss. She knocked on the door countless times. First with fake apologies, then with anger, then with tears. but it remained shut. No calls returned. No messages answered. Her power over him had died the night she gave herself to another man. He had stopped being her lover and turned into something else. A storm with a memory. He had screenshots, videos. He had every detail. He even knew the hotel she had booked under a false name. He knew the time they checked in, the food they ordered, the exact hour she removed her dress. All of it, recorded, saved, backed up in 3 devices. Not for revenge porn. Well, that wasn't his goal. His goal was destruction, not embarrassment. He wanted her to feel the pain she made him swallow in silence. He wanted her to crumble not in public, but in her own shame. Alone, naked, cold. And so he played his game carefully. He became the man everyone wanted. Sharp suits, quiet eyes, calm demeanor. But inside he was burning. She watched from a distance. She started showing up where he went. Same cafes, same bars, even the same gym. Her eyes followed him like a shadow that had lost its sun. But he never looked back. Not once. Until the night she collapsed in the parking lot. Drunk, crying, screaming his name. That was the first time he touched her again. Not with passion but pity. He carried her to the car. She mumbled things. "I'm sorry, I was lost." He didn't mean anything. "I missed you." Her words slurred but still sharp enough to stab. He didn't say a thing. He drove her to his house, placed her gently on the bed, and walked away. But that night, something snapped again. He sat in the dark corner of the room and just watched her sleep. Her body twisted in pain, her mouth dry, her face pale. He saw the girl he once loved, buried under layers of filth, regret and pride. And suddenly he wanted to feel her again. He wanted to hurt her again. So he did. She awoke to hands on her. Rough, demanding, relentless. No foreplay. No romance. Just raw domination. She gasped, resisted, then surrendered. And once again he took her. All night. No breaks. Just skin-slapping, breath-breaking, body-trembling sex. Not making love. Well, this was a punishment. Declaration. Her voice cracked from the moans. Her skin burned from the friction. Her eyes swelled with tears, part pleasure, part pain. And yet she whispered, "Don't stop." And he didn't. When the sun rose, her body was drenched in sweat and tears. She couldn't move. Her thighs trembled. Her lips bled slightly. Her heart raced. But he simply stood, pulled on his pants and said, "You don't get to miss me. You broke me." Then he left. Again. This time she didn't beg. She sat there for hours. Naked. Shaking. Remembering everything. Every thrust. Every slap. Every word. She had once bullied him emotionally. Mocking his simplicity. Teasing his possessiveness. Flirting just to get a reaction. She loved the power. But now it was her turn. She was the one crying in silence. She was the one waiting for a text that wouldn't come. She was the one who touched herself at night while thinking of how he used to whisper her name like a prayer. But it was gone. That man was gone. Now there was a new him. One that couldn't be manipulated. One that had tasted the dark side and liked it. And now he had someone new. Someone quiet. Mysterious. Soft in her words but fierce in bed. Someone who didn't need to be chased. Who looked at him like he was fire and water at once. And she saw them one night, holding hands, smiling, laughing, the same laugh she thought was only hers. That night she broke. Completely. She sent messages again. Voice notes, please. But nothing worked. She even tried to seduce him once more, showing up in just a coat with nothing underneath. He looked at her, touched her, kissed her, stripped her slowly, played with her body like he was about to give in. Then left her half naked and desperate on the bed saying, "I don't sleep with ghosts," and walked out. That was the moment she realized the truth. She wasn't the victim. She was the villain. The villain who played with hearts, who danced with devils, who mocked a man who loved her. The villain who thought she'd never be replaced. And now, She wasn't just replaced. She was erased. The weeks passed like knives, each day cutting deeper into her soul. Every memory of him became a wound that wouldn't stop bleeding. She tried to move on. She tried to distract herself with meaningless encounters, loud parties, and long nights, but nothing worked. No one touched her the way he did. No one stared into her the way he did. No one broke her apart and pieced her back together like him. She lived in silence, a prisoner of her own guilt, and the silence screamed louder than any voice. But he wasn't idle. He had rebuilt himself from the ashes she left him in. His eyes no longer held the same kindness. They were colder, darker, and sharper. He worked like a man possessed. Every success, every milestone, every new woman who wanted him was part of a quiet war he was winning. But even as he rose, something inside him still ached. He didn't admit it, not even to himself, but deep down, he had never stopped remembering the softness of her lips, the way her body curled into his, the way she used to cry when she came, whispering promises between breaths. Those memories were like poison mixed with honey. Then one night fate struck again. She showed up at his doorstep, not in confidence, not in seduction, but broken. Hair messy, eyes swollen, and clothes wrinkled. She didn't speak. She just fell to her knees and held his legs. Her touch was desperate, trembling, hungry. He didn't speak either. He pulled her up, held her by the face, and kissed her. Not with love, but with fire. He lifted her in his arms, carried her inside, and threw her onto the couch. The moment was raw. Their clothes came off in silence. No foreplay, no caution, just heat. He entered her hard, deep, punishing. She gasped, bit her lip, scratched his back, cried out his name over and over as he pounded into her. Her body ached from the pressure. Her heart from the guilt. It wasn't romantic. It wasn't even sensual. It was war. He ravaged her for hours without mercy. No breaks, no love. Just rough, endless thrusts, slaps, hair pulls, loud moans, and wet heat. The sound of skin against skin filled the room. She begged, screamed, climaxed, and begged again. But he didn't stop. Her legs shook. Her voice cracked. Her body collapsed beneath him. And only when she passed out from exhaustion did he stop, panting over her, sweat dripping. The next morning, she woke up aching everywhere. Her inner thighs were sore. Her lips bruised. Her body a map of everything he did to her. She sat up slowly and saw him sitting across the room, smoking, looking out the window. "Why did you let me back in?" she asked softly. He turned his head slightly, eyes empty. "Because I wanted to see if you could still feel." She stood, walked toward him naked, and touched his chest. "I never stopped feeling." He looked down at her hand, then away. "You stopped choosing me." That was enough. Tears streamed down her face. She dropped to her knees again, not in lust, but in sorrow. "Then punish me again. Break me. Hurt me. Just don't push me away." But he didn't touch her. He stood and walked toward the door. "You came here thinking pain would bring us back. But what we had isn't here anymore. It died the night you danced with him." She cried, sobbed, crawled after him. But he left. Left her in his apartment. Naked. Alone. Defeated. That day she understood something she had never truly grasped before. Some betrayals don't end in screams. They end in silence. And in that silence he moved on. She saw him months later. In a cafe. Smiling. With someone else. She wanted to run to him, scream, cry, apologize again. But she didn't. She just watched. And he never looked back. Because he didn't need revenge. He had closure. And she was left to live in the ruins of what she destroyed. She became the ghost in her own story. And he finally learned how to dance again. With someone who never made him beg to be loved. And that was the end of her fairy tale.